So congratulations or condolences. You just got diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder and you're like, what the hell is CPTSD? Well, spoiler alert, it's like being taught to be on expert mode the whole time and you're like, well, I never even went through the tutorial. How can I be on expert mode? When we have CPTSD, the tutorial is the trauma that you face through a prolonged period of time. So in all seriousness, I'm going to break it down 5 easy steps to help you understand what CPTSD is and what it's not. So when you hear about CPTSD, you often think about PTSD, which are not the same. They're related, but PTSD is more known because it's more studied, there's more research, and we know it because of military vets, servicemen and women who have been to war and combat zones, and they come back with acute trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, and they have a hard time adapting back to life because of how their brain was changed due to this traumatic acute event. So with CPTSD, you have a lot of the same type of symptoms as PTSD, but the complex part of it comes through a prolonged period of trauma, usually in childhood, through child abuse, developmental trauma. As your brain is developing, your brain is literally changing on how it developed. So in PTSD, it's acute, it's usually short-term exposure, whereas CPTSD, it's chronic and it's a long-term exposure to trauma. So the number one thing that you should know is with CPTSD is your nervous system is constantly on high alert mode. It's like drinking Red Bulls and jumping into a pool of lava. If you can imagine what that might feel like, because I'm not going to test it out, CPTSD, you often are always in fight, flight, fawn, or freeze mode. Fawn is the lesser known trauma response, but it's usually equated to CPTSD because fawning has to do with people pleasing times 10, although people pleasing is a learned behavior through adapting your personality to fit in, where fawning is all about survival. You have to adapt to your environment in order to survive because of unsafe traumatic situations that are occurring. The second thing is trust issues. So trust issues in CPTSD is like being a CIA agent, always on call, always on demand, no matter where you go. You go into a party, all of a sudden you meet someone and your CIA operator comes out and you just reading that person. When I shook their hand, they blinked 3 times, they looked down and adjusted their collar. That's suspicious. What are they up to? They're not up to anything, bro. They just said hello. Number 3 is in CPTSD, we have a really hard time with emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is pretty simple, even though it sounds like this big complicated thing. It's essentially your brain's way of saying, you know what? I'm just on the bus. I'm headed to work. Just a little bit of a traffic jam, but things are going to be fine. In a normal regulated brain, things are going to be fine. You're held up for 5 minutes, but it's fine. In CPTSD, when you're dysregulated, you're caught up on that same bus. There's traffic. There's some gridlock. You're 5 minutes late. All of a sudden, your boss is going to fire you. You're going to be late, but this is your first time being late this year, but you're still going to get fired. You're not going to be able to pay your mortgage or your rent. You're going to be homeless. And now all of a sudden, your kids are going to be out on the street. They're going to call CPS, and then they're probably going to put me in jail. Relax, bro. You've been at that job for 5 years. You showed up late twice. I don't think they're going to fire you. But that's how it works when you are emotionally dysregulated from complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Everything becomes just huge. Every little setback, every little malfunction becomes catastrophic, or at least it feels that way to our emotional world. And the fourth thing you should know is that all these things are not because you're broken or you need to be fixed. It's simply your brain adapting to the environment. As humans, we need to adapt to our environment. When we're children, when we have love and caregivers and parents who care for us, we adapt in a loving, healthy, adaptive way. When we have the opposite, well, we learn how to adapt in a war zone. That's our trauma. And because of that, our brain gets really good at surviving, not thriving and not showing unconditional love, but being judged, being neglected, being abused, and being hurt. And so we become experts of survival. But the problem with that is once the trauma stops, your body ain't get the memo. So now everyday life just feels like you're in a Call of Duty battle, just constantly scanning for danger, fawning, fighting, flighting, you name it. That's what's going on inside your mind. And number 5 is CPTSD is not doomsday, dude. It might sound like it, especially with this whole argument. Well, it's not even in the DSM-5. Guess what? The DSM-5 is way behind the ICD-11 because they have that as a clinical disorder for a reason. CPTSD is a clinical disorder and it does affect many people, but it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world for you. Nowadays, the past 10 years, research has exploded around CPTSD, trauma, when it comes to developmental trauma and childhood trauma, and we know so much more on how to manage these triggers, manage our symptoms, our emotional flashbacks. There's tons of great therapists out there, great programs, great books on the subject, great videos like Silent Mind. Check him out, check me out. I am him, him is I. Stupid, but you get it. So to recap, you just got this diagnosis. I would say don't get online and research at 3 a.m. in the morning, because nothing good comes from convincing yourself that you're an alien with CPTSD from a Reddit post at 3 in the morning. Just don't do it. But do learn about your nervous system, because your nervous system is essentially the real operating manual that's gonna benefit you on how to rewire your nervous system. A fancy term for another video, but you can rewire over time and teach your brain and your nervous system how to manage those symptoms a lot better. And just know you're not alone. There's plenty of support groups, there's plenty of therapists now who know a lot about CPTSD, there's connections online, and if you need it, there's medicine and psychiatrists who do know a lot about complex trauma nowadays. So yeah, welcome to the CPTSD Club. The membership benefits include hypervigilance, hypovigilance, emotional flashbacks, and all of this will make Sigmund Freud roll over in his grave, because he had nothing on CPTSD. He didn't even know about it, even though he probably had it. And like always, you are not your diagnoses, you are not your trauma, you can heal. 20 years ago, I couldn't even talk about trauma. That's how traumatized I was. I healed a lot, I'm still healing, and now I choose to advocate and spread the word on complex trauma. But the most important thing is that you like, you subscribe, so you can keep seeing these beautiful videos from him, me, I, Silent Mind. Dude, you gotta stop ending off on a corny note, but that's who I am. Just be who you are. Why are you looking at the pumpkin up there? It's not a real pumpkin, it's just like a little fabric thing.